The Paper Mario 1000-Year Door remake introduced a number of improvements from its GameCube original, including a faster partner swapping system, more warp pipes that make it easier to move about the map, and the English version's inclusion of dialogue that affirms Vivian is trans. One quality of life change that I and some others were expecting was in how the game handles side quests. In the 1000-Year Door, you can accept one side quest at a time, and you cannot accept another one until your initial one is dealt with. This remained unchanged in the remake. This tiny distinction turns the Trouble Center, the place where you accept side quests, from one of the game's most immersive pieces of content to a completionist's tedious nightmare. Let's take a journey to Rogueport to check out the Trouble Center, see what's wrong with it, and call out the most annoying NPC in the entire game. The highlight of the Trouble Center is the advanced characterization that it brings to each character featured on the Trouble Board. One of 1000-Year Door's greatest strengths is its wonderful cast of characters, from the major partners down to the smallest NPCs. In these troubles, we get to learn a little bit about each NPC. Most of the troubles take place in Rogueport, the main hub world of the game, and I think that this sort of game mechanic being located in a setting like Rogueport is what makes it shine so much. Rogueport is an interesting hub world, to say the least. Compared to the mild-mannered Toad Town of the original, Rogueport is a bit more edgy. It's dirty, it's dingy, and it apparently embraces capital punishment. You'd think in a rough place like this you'd come up against some dangerous individuals, but you would be incorrect. In fact, there is only one Rogueport citizen who you actually fight in the game, Gus the Gatekeeper, and even he is just a down-on-his-luck little thief who Goombella refers to as a nice guy. Take this bandit who steals your 50 coins at the start of the game. You can chase him back to his house and it's this gross little place with roaches going all about. And he's all like, sorry about that. Man, I almost want to let him keep my 50 coins. Almost. I got badges to buy. One side quest I think highlights Rogueport quite well is Find This Guy, given to you by Goomther the Goomba. In the trouble, poor Goomther here is a victim of credit card fraud. So, you go and find the culprit, and you have to chase him around a little bit, finding him in different spots around the town. Once you corner the bandit, Goomther comes around and confronts the thief himself, even so much as implying he's going to kick his bandit butt. I feel like I just saw this little Goomba learn a valuable lesson about not trusting everybody. It's a nice little character arc for a guy we see just walking around the town square for most of the game. There are some more important characters who pose troubles on the board as well. One such major chapter character who requests a trouble is the Puny Elder, located in the Great Tree. This old leader of her tribe is looking for a little insurance policy in the form of the Life Shroom item. Thematically, this is funny because the Life Shroom is an item that revives Mario if he falls in battle. It also gives us another chance to interact with this character whose story significance has long passed. What I don't get is why the Puny Elder didn't just buy a Life Shroom over in Rogueport. Like, she had to go to the Trouble Center to post the trouble. They sell Life Shrooms just across town. You already came all this way, why not go buy one yourself? There are lots of other good troubles character-wise, but one more I want to touch on is Pine Tea Jr.'s trouble. This little toad is worried for his father, who, after losing his job, journeyed into the Pit of 100 Trials to gather coins for his family. What makes this trouble so impactful is that we as the player know how dangerous the Pit of 100 Trials is, and just by virtue of understanding that aspect of gameplay, we can understand what kind of danger Pine Tea Sr. is in. Around 25 floors in, we will come across Pinethan Toad all knocked out on the ground. Dude got beat up by a pokey? Really? They got like 4 HP. Once you take down this spiky threat, the toad will follow you down the pipes, cowering from danger at any other enemies you encounter. Once you get him back up to the surface, it's emotional reunion time. Something all these troubles have in common is that they are all great story-wise. However, they are not great gameplay-wise. Goomther's trouble just has you search around for this bandit. Puny Elder's trouble is just your standard fetch quest, and Pine Tea Jr.'s trouble takes place in a location you as the player are encouraged to go to anyway. This leads us to the trouble with the Trouble Center. Something a lot of Mario games succeed in is just how fun it is to move Mario around. Take a game like Mario Odyssey, where you bang ding woohoo all your way through the kingdoms. But that's a 3D platformer. This is a turn-based RPG with some platform-inspired overworld location. Going through chapters for the first time is usually pretty great. There are either interesting puzzles or platforms to work your way around, or a room full of new enemies to fight. Visiting these same places again after they've been cleared, however, is not conducive to enjoyable gameplay. And there's your main problem with the troubles. Most of them just have you walk to a place you've already been and talk to an NPC. If walking between these NPCs was a little more fun, then I wouldn't mind all this backtracking. This issue is not helped by the fact that you can only do one trouble at a time. So if there are multiple NPCs in one place with different troubles, for example, Mayor Kroop and Bubulber in Petalburg, you can't clear both of them in one trip. You have to go all the way back to Rogueport to individually take on each trouble. In order to illustrate the tedium that these troubles could present, I want to put Bubulber the hot dog gobbler on the spot. This guy. Oh, this guy really gets my goat. Bubulber's trouble asks for a hot dog. Note the letter A in his trouble, something that in the English language denotes a singular unit of something. Hot dogs are located in Chapter 3's Glitzville. It's an easy spot to ignore, so if you don't happen to have any hot dogs in your inventory, you'll need to take a trip up to Glitzville in order to come back down to Petalburg to give Bubulber his porky goodness. Not too bad. So once you get to Bubulber and give him the hot dog, he then asks if you can get him another one. What? So now you have to go back through Rogueport, back to Glitzville, buy another hot dog, and head all the way back to Petalburg. All right, here's your hot dog. We're done here, Flower Boy. All right? Nope. Now he wants a cake. A cake! I guess it's your birthday now. Need anything else, birthday boy? Want me to paint your garage? Mow your lawn? Draft your will for when I strangle you? No, I'm only off to save the world from an evil demon. I'm not busy. I'll just bake you a cake. You entitled! So, the way you get a cake is to get cake mix, which can be bought at the Pianta Parlor for 6 piantas. Then, when you get the cake mix, you bring it to Zesty, who will make it into a wonderful cake for the least deserving NPC in the Mushroom Kingdom, who will then reward you with a dried bouquet, an item that heals 1 HP. Okay, the dried bouquet isn't all bad. It is needed to complete all the recipes, so at least it wasn't all for nothing. The remake made the trips between Petalburg and Glitzville a little more bearable with the improved warp pipe locations, but is that really the bar here? Of course, if you know this trouble is coming, you can prepare with the hot dogs and the cake and only take one trip to Bubulber. But that's just the thing. You would have to know that this was going to happen. There are a lot of players, myself included, who did not know that Bubulber was gonna be this way and had to waste a ton of time backtracking. And the worst thing about this is that it's obviously intentional on the developers' part. They're trolling you. The developers literally said, hey, loyal player who is engaging with this more out-of-the-way aspect of our game, why don't we slap you in the face with this nonsense? Something I noticed while going through the troubles is that there are 0 new battles or enemies that come from the Trouble Center. Pretty much every trouble involves going to a place, talking to someone, maybe getting an item or something, but that's it. The combat is one of the best things about Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. It is its greatest gameplay strength. It's the reason everyone was clamoring for it to get remade, yet every side quest in the game either has no combat at all or requires you to fight enemies that you've already fought before. I said before that the greatest strength of the Trouble Center is its interaction with the incredible characters of the Thousand-Year Door. However, other than a few highlights, these interactions boil down to nothing more than a few more dialogue boxes and some shallow fetch questing. Despite these flaws, I do truly love the Trouble Center and all the characters we get to know better through it, except Bubulber. Hey, if you like this video on tedious game design, check out this other video about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon's most tedious dungeon. Or if you're looking for a discussion on the Mario series and its characters, check out this video on Rosalina and whether or not she'll be playable again in the future. If you like what I do and want to see me do more of it, consider becoming a channel member or checking out my Patreon, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, see you next time.